ways you can work around things to improve things, and it just seems like they're not trying to do that.
I think they're a good unit, obviously led by Victor Wembanyama.
Experience as a good head coach, like in the past 12 years ago when they won the Super Bowl.
B2-38 in an absolute thriller. Play after play. Touchdown after touchdown.
My family was just in complete disappointment.
Wanted to be a Philly, which is insane.
We saw the big thing after we first drafted him was that three-point shot. Obviously, he's drained that down, so we can't even really complain.
My team, so it's been really cool.
I'm definitely not a special guest. I'm a guest on a special podcast. That's what it is.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Two Mics, All Sports. I'm your host, Zachary Chaby, joined by my special guest, Sean Elitz. What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. What's up with you, Zach?
Not much, can't complain, but obviously for the video's purpose today, obviously not too much positives to talk about. Some positives, but obviously they don't overachieve or they don't succeed themselves over the negatives of the video we're going to be talking about, because today's video will be a Sixers recap of the 2025-2026 season. As we get into things, the first question I want to ask you, Sean, is this is the big debate I've seen early on in the offseason. We'll get into how everything has transpired from Sunday's loss. But the Sixers lost in a sweep in 4 games to the New York Knicks after having that 3-1 comeback against the Boston Celtics. The common debate I've seen throughout social media and everything is people debating if this season was a success. The question I have for you is, do you think this season was a success, or do you think this just gets added to a laundry list of failures in this tenure for the Sixers as a team?
Well, they haven't gotten over the hump yet in the last 8 years in the second round, every year at best. So, I mean, it's tough to call it a true success. But as a fan, biasedly, I had a great time watching them beat the Celtics, so that was pretty successful. That's probably the most fun I've had watching Sixers basketball since, Jimmy Butler. So it's tough to call. Before the season, I didn't have high expectations. So, I can't be too disappointed. I would have been shocked if they got past the second round if you told me that before the season started. So I'd call it not a success, but not a total failure.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I just think at the end of the day, the way you look at things, obviously, coming off the Celtics series, I viewed as wow, if we can just compete with the New York Knicks, it's not necessarily it's a failed season. I just think if you can compete, not a success per se, changing that. If they were able to compete, unfortunately lose in 6 games, then I'd be okay. They came back in a tough series against a team that was favored to win the whole East and then competed and just ran out of gas because they didn't have a bench against the Knicks. But the way they got absolutely dismantled, I think I would say it's in the middle, leaning towards more of a failure. Because at this point, I feel like this is the lowest point. In seasons past, at least we lost in Game 7s, or we just didn't have enough gas in a Game 6 or a Game 5. But this was just different. From Game 1 on, you just never could get a grasp of this series. And in Game 2 especially, a game that you could have won, you could not hit a shot down the stretch. And it's not just you don't have the talented enough players. Your talented enough players are playing close to the entire game. Tyrese Maxey played 47 minutes in Game 2. In that 1 minute he did not play, the Knicks outscored the Sixers 7-1.
Wow. I did not know all that. That's crazy.
And the way I view things is I think this season has left us with a lot more issues and questions than it left us with true success. I think the one good thing out of the season I think Edgecombe is going to be a star in this league. He came out, had an incredible rookie season, finished 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting. And he's just developing his shot as time goes on. And his post-game press conference with Tyrese Maxey after Game 4 just shows that he's going to be the type of guy. He's going to be the guy there 4 or 5 in the morning every day during the summer, getting the work in the gym. And he's going to come back next year. And if he can get to that 35% clip shooting the 3-ball, he's only going to get better. And he already has a decent jump shot. He just needs to, I think, develop a more basis of it. And he can be that shooting guard small forward for you, averaging 22, 23 next year. He could be your second leading scorer behind Maxey. But speaking of Maxey, I want to ask you this. I saw this brought up by someone I was watching yesterday, and it actually made me think. Do you think the Sixers need to go out this offseason and target a point guard, or do you think Tyrese Maxey is good enough to be a starting point guard on a team? Because I think he's a solid guy, but someone brought it up that sometimes Maxey's play style would work better as a combo guard instead of a guy who's controlling the offense. And the example they brought up was Jalen Brunson, because how he's able to control the offense, not just shooting, but be a facilitator to teams. Do you think Maxey can be this point guard for the foreseeable future, or do you think they need to go get out a guy just because this doesn't have to be now, but do you think if the Sixers want to actually be a championship threat, maybe not next year, but a few years down the road, they need to have a solidified more point guard than instead of Maxey?
I think we'll see. I think it'd be nice to have I think Edgecombe's maybe a little too small to be a full-time small forward. Like a playmaking forward would probably be nice for us, but I know they're tough to find because Maxey isn't a true, neither of them are true point guards. But a lot of teams don't have a true point guard these days. So it is tough. I think we'll see for sure. I don't think we go out and going now. I think hopefully he ups his playmaking going forward, but he probably won't. And then we'll hopefully get like a guy that can control the offense from the forward spot when we probably get rid of Embiid and PG in a few years. And about like the disappointing thing, the thing I'll say is I don't think they're ever going to win a championship with Embiid, and I've almost accepted that. So I'm really curious how it's going to be in 4 or 5 years. But these are basically just fun. So I'm just glad to beat the Celtics. I really didn't expect there was no way at a championship. And then once we got to the Knicks, it was like, now I'm hoping for better. And they look bad like they have every second round for the last 8 years. And especially in the fourth quarters. So yeah, they also need to find like a dog, like a guy like Jimmy Butler that'll fourth quarter, you can count on him. It hasn't been PG. It hasn't been, I love Maxey, but it's not always Maxey either. Definitely not always Embiid. So there's a lot of stuff to go forward in the next 3 to 4 years that'll be interesting, including that finding a playmaker to pair with PJ and Maxey.
Absolutely. And I just think the way I look at things future down the road and just looking at it now, just like I think what made us think different, at least for me, I know if people want to clown me, I picked the Sixers in 7 games. I will say the reason I picked that though is because we'd never seen them play a first round series like they did. Usually their first round series is like kind of like an appetizer, like 2023 Brooklyn Nets. No offense to them, but that was kind of an appetizer to a bigger deal on the Boston Celtics. They've never had too much pressure on that first round series, and in the second round, all the pressure's on them. This year was different. They were backs against the wall. The Celtics were controlling it. They were knocking down the three, but then they exposed the Celtics for what they are. They live and die by the three. When they weren't knocking them down, the Sixers took advantage of that. That 3-game stretch was probably the best 3-game stretch I've seen in Sixers playoff basketball since 2019. Because I know 2023 was a pretty good year. You lost in 7 games, but I kind of like to wash that year away because you saw Doc Rivers as your head coach, and deep down, everyone knew that your expectations were still gonna fail to succeed because you had him as your head coach, and then Embiid and Harden, both playoff failures who've had playoff failures. But 2019 was the one year where you lost on an unfortunate shot and you actually couldn't blame it on any of your players. That 3-game stretch, that brought me back to that point because we were playing good basketball. Embiid looked, even though he wasn't 100%, looked insanely healthy from what he was at the beginning of the season, was playing good defense. Paul George was knocking down shot after shot. Maxey and Edgecombe looked great. And you just were defending the Celtics on the defensive end where they were just jacking up 3-pointers, and there's nothing you could do about it. But now, as we look on to things, obviously the offseason has started now for the Sixers, but the offseason really intensified yesterday with the breaking news that came out that Daryl Morey is out as the president of basketball operations. Before we get a deeper dive into it, do you think this is the right choice?
Absolutely. He needed to go, I think, a couple of years back for sure. I just don't like the guy. I mean, he's aggressive, but just sometimes I feel like he tries to make a big splash instead of building a solid team, which over the last however many years in the NBA, the solid team is the one that's winning, the deep team, the consistent one that's built right. And he just tries to grab whoever he can, which has never worked for him.
Absolutely. I think the big thing with Daryl Morey, he goes for the name rather than the proven talent. Obviously, hence what he did that 2022 offseason, bringing in P.J. Tucker and Daniel House because he had them with the Rockets. And that's another thing. Daryl Morey has been since with the Rockets, now to the Sixers. How many championships does he have to show for it? how many
Yep.
conference finals, second round losses. The number goes on and on and on. It shows that Daryl Morey, he can like when he came here into Philly, he built a solid team in 2021. Ben Simmons just shit the bed. It was that plain and simple that year. He brought in Seth Curry, got rid of Josh Richardson, was able to get off the Al Horford contract, and Danny Green was a great piece. But then when it came to actually getting rid of Ben Simmons, and I want to bring it up like this. Obviously, I'm going to have a few other examples throughout this episode, but I think this where it really started to derail Daryl Morey is when when he traded for James Harden, when he did that, instead of doing the offer the Kings had up on the table for Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and I can't remember the last piece, maybe it was Tristan Thompson or something like that, for Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and whoever the Sixers' last piece was throwing in. I know that might have not gone through, but I do believe the Kings offered that to the Sixers, and the Sixers turned that down. I believe that is where this derail started to start with Daryl Morey and the bad moves, because he was so invested in getting his boy James Harden back on the Sixers. And obviously, James Harden did a lot of good things for the 76ers, but his tenure ended just like it did with every other team he's been with at this point. It might be the same for Cleveland. We'll see how that series turns out. But he went and tried to get his boy, and it kind of cost him. Just imagine now. We do trade for Tyrese Halliburton. You have a solidified point guard. Maxey's your combo guard. You don't maybe have Edgecombe. But just what Tyrese Halliburton was able to do with the Pacers. Because the Pacers, no disrespect, the team they had last year was a deep, great team, and they deserved to go to the finals. But Tyrese Halliburton's heroics and how he stepped up in last year's playoffs is the reason they got to the finals. If you insert that with Maxey and Embiid, the result is maybe different. But the what-ifs can be thrown out. I'm just saying, though. That's where I believe the derail started to start. And we obviously saw the corresponding moves that happened as a result of that. But the question I have for you now as we go into this offseason is the big debate is Embiid, George, what are they going to do with them? Do you think it's a smart idea to have, like, if anything, George and Embiid, out of the two, I'm guessing you would probably want George traded more, I guess?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But the bigger debate is, would you feel comfortable enough, say you can find a deal for one of them, if you have to attach a first-round pick because of their contracts? Are you considering that, or are you just saying, we'll take the loss, we'll let their contract eat out?
Yeah.
And then...
I wouldn't want to give up a first just to get rid of them. I mean, I don't think they're great anymore, but I think it's okay to just have a couple average years rather than, because we're only going to, like, giving up the first is going to make us worse long term. But I guess we get better picks because we probably have a worse record instead of just being average. But I really don't think they have any value. If they had any value, I would say absolutely get rid of both of them if you can. But we could just wait till their contract's out. Then we'd have a bunch of cap space when they do, right? Like,
yeah.
And maybe sign someone then, like, or not someone, sign a few good role players, then to hopefully go with Maxey and Edgecombe. Hopefully be the best backcourt in the NBA by then.
That will be the interesting part, though, because at that point, when their contracts run out, Maxey will be close to 30 years old. I think he'll be about like 28, 29 years old. Edgecombe will already be, I think, like 24, 25. And you'll be getting the George contract, at least, when that wraps up, that's when the Clipper pick comes up in 2028. So you still have Paul George for 2 years, $100 million left. And Embiid's contract has now kicked in, that massive 3-year. I think that's going to go down as one of the worst contracts in NBA history. Because when the position you were in when you pay, it's not like you paid him this after his MVP season. You paid him when he came off a billion injuries. He couldn't see out of his eye. He was averaging 34 in that Knicks series, but still you could see that he was derailing. And the doctors even told the Sixers front office that he was derailing himself. And then even in his post-game press conference, he said it himself. He said if he didn't know if he was going to make it through this season. And now you're paying him 3 years, $193 million. And obviously we saw what the Bucks did with Damian Lillard stretching out his contract and then waiving it. If you have to do that, that's kind of embarrassing on your part. And then if they even trade him, I said this. Back in 2023, I could see the direction the organization was going. I said they should have traded Embiid then because I thought there was a few good draft classes coming up. You could have got max value for him, and you'd probably be in a different position now because this is another thing. When Maxey and Edgecombe were playing majority of the season, they were running a different style of offense. And B comes back in, they slow it down a teeny bit, and they run this style of offense. You can't switch from different offensive styles. Yes, you can have different ways of running offense, but these were two distinct different styles of offense, and when Embiid was on the court and when he was not on the court. And you could see how chemistry was messed up, how people playing in different positions were messed up, and how having a terrible bench really we started to show when these guys, we had only like a top 6 guys, and then after that it was absolutely nobody who could play winning basketball. So, but then just looking things as a whole, I just want to go through Daryl Morey's tenure real quick and just talk about some of the moves that he's made that has put us in the position we are now. Obviously, we don't have a bench. I've emphasized this a lot. Let's talk about a few guys that Daryl Morey has left go for basically nothing, and now in the position we're going. We'll talk about the first. I'll talk about the one that happened first of all, was when we cut Isaiah Joe off the roster during summer camp, and now he's playing winning basketball. Already he's won a championship with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I didn't really get that at this time, and now he's developed his game even more. A diamond in the rough that has really emerged and really makes upsetting is when we cut Julian Champagnie just for Mac. Obviously, it was cool when Mac McClung won the dunk contest representing the Sixers, but at the same time, Mac McClung isn't even playing NBA basketball right now, while Julian Champagnie is shooting an amazing percentage for the Spurs in the playoffs. And then you have, obviously, the most notable, Jared McCain. You traded him for a first-round pick that's going to be 23rd overall. You're not going to draft another Jared McCain. And before Game 4 against the Lakers, he was shooting 82% from the three-point line. That is absolutely insane. He had 18 points in 18 minutes, I believe, in Game 2. Game 2 or Game 3 against the Lakers.
Game 2.
And it's just like, you could see how much it affected the players when they traded him. And it's to the point where even Joel Embiid, I'll say this right now. I haven't said this too much. I'm 50-50 with Embiid. Sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't. It just depends on the day at this point with me. When he was literally saying himself, we needed more pieces, and the report that came out, they were trying to use that pick to get another player off of it, you needed to facilitate that weeks before. They traded McCain that day and expected they were going to get something for him the day of the trade deadline. Or I think they traded him on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and the trade deadline was like that Thursday. But still, like, they traded him and thought they were going to be able to facilitate something using that pick in like 24, 48 hours. It was not going to happen. There was teams that were coming to interest him. And I will say, in Daryl Morey's defense, I think that could be a toss-up on who traded McCain. I think it could be Josh Harris and I want to get this out of the way. But he's in the Epstein files. He should sell the team. That's all I have to say about him.
Josh Harris can sell the team.
And I don't know if that was his decision, because I heard this scenario this morning, and I thought it to be interesting. I think it could have gone one of two ways. Morey just straight out traded him because he wanted to, like, Josh Harris told him that he needed to deduct the tax, or Morey just chose the player himself and McCain and stuff like that. Because you could kind of see some mixed stuff with all about that. But at this point, I can get frustrated all I want. Obviously, I wanted to cry when I saw McCain knocking down threes in Game 4. He can just pull up from anywhere, and he's just knocking them down on a consistent basis. And it's like he got traded to the Thunder of all teams that just didn't even need him, and now he's providing great minutes for them. And they just pull players out of their ass. Like, AJ Mitchell has become the second best player on that OKC team in one series alone.
Just a great organization right now. It's tough. It's like sometimes the Eagles feel like they're like that, but the Sixers are not a good. Like, it feels like they have who they have. Quentin Grimes is good for half a season, but then when it matters, he's not good.
And I can't believe he had the audacity to ask for $30 million a year this offseason.
Imagine that. But McCain, I saw in Game 4, he had like, I don't even know how many points he had. He played like 14 minutes.
Yeah, 13.
And his plus-minus was plus 27 in 14 minutes. And the Thunder won by 5. Like, he was the biggest difference in the game almost, it seems like. And meanwhile, we have nobody off our bench besides Quentin Grimes, who's mid at best. But nobody else to score off our bench. And we traded him for nothing, and we knew it was nothing. And Daryl Morey said, we sold high on him. Unbelievable to say that. Like, I was mad then. Like, that was the most I've known a trade was going to be bad in my life, where I was like, what are we doing? I think, though, Josh Harris, like they were over the tax and he didn't want to pay it. But yeah, sell the team. It's a Philadelphia sports team. You got to be willing to pay your guys.
Mm-hmm. Everything you need to know about Josh Harris is explained in a few lines. Owns the Sixers, owns the Commanders, owns the New Jersey Devils. A guy that owns more than he owns more than one team for different sports. Doesn't care about the team. He cares about the dollar bills and the profits he gets. Think about it. The Commanders made the NFC Championship game. He pays almost over a billion, not billions, but like millions of dollars to bring in all these old veterans so they could raise tickets and the Commanders suck.
Yeah. I mean, he can keep doing that with the Commanders, though. That's cool.
Yeah.
Just not with the Sixers.
Absolutely. But it's like to the point where Josh Harris sees, success. Oh, we need to spend money to get even more success. It's all about the profits this, profits that. Like
jerseys, all that, instead of putting together a good team and just I feel like you should just let the GM do their job.
Absolutely. And Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback, and he got surrounded around a bunch of veterans and guys that you knew that he was going to get screwed over either way. And then, obviously, the New Jersey Devils as well. They had some success. He paid high dollars, and now they missed the playoffs. So, like every time it seems like Josh Harris gets involved, the result is always down. So, but going to the more GM sense, obviously they fired Daryl Morey. Bob Myers, former Warriors general manager, is going to take over the search. How do you think about this search as a whole, and like what type of guy do you think they should be looking for, or do you think it should just be Bob Myers that steps in at least for this season?
Not gonna lie, I don't really know GM ball, but I mean,
I guess what you're looking for in a GM.
Just a guy that like has a plan to like build a bench, to build a solid roster. I mean, whether they want to keep the four guys or not. Someone that can build a good team around them or build a good team around whoever they do have, like Maxey, Edgecombe. I'm sure they're going to keep Embiid. I don't know what they're going to do with PG, but just someone that has a plan going forward. And then for probably a plan for what to do around those guys, and then a plan for what to do when Embiid and PG inevitably leave. But yeah, I don't have any names, but I hope just someone with an idea of what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it all depends on what they want. A few things. Do they still think they can compete for a championship? Then they bring in maybe a more veteran guy.
Yeah.
Or do they think, we need to honestly just let these contracts waste off George and Embiid, build a solid enough team to, I guess, win a few games and not completely tank out? People have brought up the fact that they should bring back Sam Hinkie to complete the process. I think that'd be awesome, but it's probably not going to happen. But
I don't think it's going to happen.
But I think it all depends on the type of guy they bring in. If they bring in a guy with experience, they still think they have a small window. If they bring in a younger guy, we're going to see it starts to tear up. And then I saw this. I want to ask you this. I saw this on First Take this morning. They were talking about if Maxey should want to force his way out of Philly, and Stephen A. said yes. Obviously, Stephen A. probably happy right now. He's a Knicks fan. If you're Tyrese Maxey right now, how are you feeling right now, you think?
Maxey is my guy, but he had his struggles too. It wasn't like he wasn't dropping 35 a night and the team was letting him down. Like he was fourth quarter struggles. He was a big part of it. And I love Maxey, but he wouldn't do that, first of all. But that wouldn't be the right move for him. He's built his team, like he's built his name around this team, and he's done a good job, and we love him, but he'll be all right for in the next few years. I think he's only 25.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's like 28, that's a good point about Paul George and Embiid. If we still have him and it feels like we're wasting 4 more years of his career, then I would get it. But at this point in his career, he'll be all right here.
Yeah. So, but we'll see what happens. I just think it's interesting in the sense where it's another thing. Maxey played 44 minutes in Game 3, had 17 points. Like it kind of seemed like in this series, the Knicks were able to expose him for his weaknesses, and a lot of people brought this up. They had Maxey in like the A-tier point guards, and now after this playoffs, he's kind of like, you got Cade Cunningham and you got Jalen Brunson, and then it's everyone else below them. And I think that's reasonable to say.
In the East.
Yes, in the East.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In the East. So, but moving on from that, I'm going to name a couple free agents that the Sixers have this offseason, and I want you to either say stay or go. So you ready? So first one we got, Kelly Oubre.
It's like I'm biased because Oubre's my guy. Probably say stay, but I don't know how much he's expected to get or anything. And then I would say stay.
Okay. I'm going to honestly say go. I think he's up and okay. He's been really he was really good his first year he got here, but like obviously he was the Sixers leading scorer in game 3, I believe, which is just insane. And honestly, he was kind of like the type of guy where he only benefited off like the extra pass and stuff like that. And he could knock down open threes. And obviously I think he was overall good his tenure here with the Sixers, but I think we need different guys in the building, so I'm going to say go. Next guy we got is Quentin Grimes.
Go. I mean, I don't know. I don't hate Grimes, but I got to get rid of some people. I'd rather have 3 bench guys that can score instead of just the one. He was our only scorer off the bench, but he's not super consistent or not consistent at all. He could have a good game, but he could have a lot of bad games. And when we only have one bench guy that can score, they got to be more consistent than he was.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, it's like you want continuity in your players and stuff like that. But like when a guy like Quentin Grimes had a more advanced role after the trade deadline and just didn't step into it whatsoever. Like you could just tell the difference from his volume shooting when everyone was hurt last year and how he was playing so well, and then when he had to do a new role this year when everyone was back, and you saw how much a hit it took on him and he wasn't able to be a good player. You see the difference in that, and I think you need a guy who's better than that. And Grimes kind of plays like he's the superstar on the team. The way he goes to the net late in the quarters, or like jacks up threes, transition threes, and just bricks them, or he shoots like the most wildest layups, and it's not even close.
Yeah, he complains like a superstar too. Like after like he thinks he got a foul, that like Shea would get, or like even Brunson or Maxey might get, but he's like freaking out. Like you're never getting that call.
No. So, and then one more player is let's say Andre Drummond. Stay or go?
Like same thing. I don't know how much money he's gonna get, but I think it's reasonable to let him go if they can get another big guy. I don't want Boner to be our backup.
Yeah.
If it came down to him or Oubre, I'd probably keep Drummond over Oubre because he'd get paid less than Oubre, I think.
Yeah, I would say the only I would say the only positive thing about Andre Drummond this season is his advanced 3-point percentage. Like,
he's a decent backup in the regular season. He was pretty bad in the playoffs, though.
Yes.
I just don't know who their backup center would be. Him and Boner are both pretty bad.
Yeah, they are. And I just think Drummond just kind of is lazy sometimes.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to grab the rebound. He kind of just gets boxed out on defensive and offensive rebounds, and he just kind of isn't a great defender anymore. Like, he kind of just like...
Yeah, he's pretty slow.
Yeah.
Just bad instincts, but his 3-point, he is fun. I feel like I'm biased for him and Oubre. I really like him.
Yeah.
But Drummond struggled in the playoffs. Every time he came in the game, it was like...
I will say he's probably the best backup center Embiid's ever had in his career. But like, I think another thing, you can see the night and day difference. Because remember when his first tenure here with the Sixers, that one year he was absolutely incredible. Like, they had Embiid and Drummond playing 2 center sets. That's how good he was playing while he was here. And then you bring him back and you see the difference.
Yeah, he's just old. He's actually not even like crazy old, but he plays like it.
He does.
I mean, he's 7 foot though.
Yeah, he plays like he's in his mid-40s, just playing in like the Drew League or something like that.
Yeah. But the only reason I said him over Oubre is because I think if we kept him and not Oubre, we could get like 2 more bench guys on top of that for hopefully the same price.
Yeah. I think another thing is like, depending on the guys they let go, if they can open up that taxpayer mid-level exception and who they use to spend that. Because now I look back to this. I know the free agency class wasn't good when we signed Paul George, but you basically wasted that entire year just to sign a guy who's $200 million. And I don't know if you heard this in his post-game press conference. He's like, this offseason I need to try to find my explosiveness. Dude, you're 35, 36 years old. That explosiveness was lost a while ago.
Yeah.
So, and now you still owe him over $100 million. And I just think back, there had to be better role players out there that you could have spread it out the money to. Because Maxey and Embiid were actually playing so well in that Knicks series. And if you provided them with a better starting lineup and a deeper bench, last year could have been definitely more interesting. Obviously, you can't predict the injuries and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, now you look at this season, Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon were on this. Kyle Lowry was on this team the entire season. Obviously, he brings a lot of veteran experience. But I could sit on the bench for $1 million, clap it up, and sit in the warm-up suit. And then Eric Gordon was on this team for as long as he was. Like,
I went to the Sixers' last game this year, and at the end, Kyle Lowry got in, and like everyone was cheering for him, like it was like a high school game, and the fat kid got in. I was like, this guy's really, like he was so good, and now it's like
I think he's even signed under Prime to be like an analyst too. Like that's the crazy part about
yeah,
it.
already, yeah.
Like
They're just there to be a cheerleader this year.
I know he just needs to sign his 1-day contract with the Raptors and retire. So, well, we'll see what happens. So, but the last thing I want to talk about here with you, Sean, is what do you think the direction? Not even who they'd hire as the GM. Obviously, they're keeping Nick Nurse. Do you think that's the right decision? Before I get into my last thing,
I think so.
Yeah,
At least if their goal is to compete still, I think give them another year. We gave Doc more time than we gave Nurse, and Doc had a better situation than Nurse.
I think. Sorry, I also think Nurse saved his season beating the Celtics. If we would have went down 4 in 5 games, it would have been a clean house. So
I think that's if we came back and lost in 7, a good one, he might have stayed. But if we lost in 5, I think everyone would be like, get rid of everyone.
yes.
So that did save a season.
I think another thing is they're giving him the benefit of the doubt that Daryl Morey set up a terrible bench for him, and he had to play guys like over 40 minutes a night. And difference with Doc Rivers, we had the young pieces with Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers was just refusing to play them. Nick Nurse just didn't have the guys that were able to.
Option.
No.
I mean, Barlow looked fine when he got in, but Barlow's not giving you for anything. Like,
But I don't know why they took him out of the starting lineup when the playoffs, because he actually wasn't too bad in the Knicks series. He gave a good.
And then it might have worked out to give Oubre a little more, like put Oubre on the bench, give him a little more scoring off the bench because Oubre is obviously a better scorer than Barlow. But I think it might have made more sense.
Yeah, because Barlow isn't the type of guy that needs to create his own shot. He can be the catch and shoot guy, knock it down at consistent paces, play good defense. Oubre, he can create his own shot, but he was playing the catch and shoot role, and you kind of saw how that affected him. Because when he's aggressive to the cup, he can score baskets, but he only got that in a limited pace. And I think that's where you saw like the real issues in the starting lineup. And then obviously it doesn't help that Paul George shows up in the first quarter, looks like the GOAT of all basketball, and then doesn't want to show up the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's the worst. That's like vintage Sixers. It's just what we do. You find guys that just aren't good when you need them to be great.
Absolutely. So, but the final question I have for you, Sean, is when they hire their GM and when they decide to do things, what should be their off-season outlook going into the season? How should they approach everything, you think?
I think at this point they're kind of stuck with Embiid and PG and Maxey. Or not Maxey, not stuck with Maxey. Embiid and PG. So I think just try to get a better bench, try to compete. I mean, you might as well. Like they tricked me for a few games there, for 3 games. I was like they could compete, but I think they might as well try. I mean, I really don't think there's a lot to lose right now. I don't think they're going to tank. They're paying these guys so much money. I think just try to get a better bench. They probably will have to get rid of Oubre. They just need a better bench more than they need him in the starting lineup, and then find someone else that can play good defense. Maybe a good passer that can play some defense in the forward position, but that'll probably be tough to find.
Yeah.
And then just a couple more bench guys that can score, and they'll probably get rid of Grimes. Just have 3 guys that you can, and then plus a center that you can get, and be like, you will be able to make some shots. You won't be scoring 8 points as a combined bench in a big playoff game.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the way they need to look at this all season is like you have to be aggressive and find guys off the bench. You want a point guard who can control the offense, and then guys that can create their own shots coming off the bench. So you don't feel like you're losing that lack of scoring when the starters come out. Because it's like it almost felt like when we had that 4 of George, Embiid, Maxey, and VJ. 2 out of those 4 guys needed to be on the court all of the game.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't, because like you think about it, I bring up the Thunder because they know what they're doing. Sam Presti has played his GM role to perfection. They can take out the whole starting lineup and they have a bunch of guys that can come in and give them good minutes. Like AJ Mitchell has turned from a bench guy to a starter because J-Dub's out. And when J-Dub comes back, I honestly would consider throwing J-Dub as the 6th man because AJ Mitchell's so hot playing in the starting lineup. They have Chet, Hartenstein. They have Jaron McCain. Like they have Isaiah Joe. Like they can just throw in guys every which way, and they can give you good shots and good buckets. Aaron Wiggins did that for them last year in the finals for a period of time, and then Shea's just the conductor of the whole offense. So
Paul George trade from their perspective might be the best trade ever.
Yes,
you get you get the best or second best player in the world, in my opinion, and then on top of that, you get a bunch of picks.
Like you built your new dynasty off that trade.
And yeah, they deserve. I mean, they didn't know free agency got. I mean, Hartenstein, but like their core is built from the draft and just like good trades, like not trading for current stars, just trading the SGA and then making him a star. Like they make guys stars.
And it's like the Hartenstein wasn't even like a missing piece. He was just added to be another guy on this great team. And honestly, the Thunder weren't like I said, he wasn't like the missing. The Thunder just needed that playoff experience the year before to elevate them to next season. It was that plain and simple.
Yeah.
So, but I kind of agree with the outlook. I think they need to find those guys who create the shots. I don't know what they're going to do with the 23rd pick. Honestly, I would try to package that with another player, see if you can move up in the draft because this draft's pretty stacked. So if you can get close to the lottery or just outside the lottery and get a guy like that, I think it'd be good. I think
a real contributor.
I think they need to try to. I think in the draft, I wouldn't necessarily for the first round target a guard, shooting guard, or small forward. I target like a power forward center in the draft because you can find a guy maybe to back up Embiid.
If they could find a good backup for Embiid, that would be ideal. Then you don't have to worry about Drummond.
Exactly, or even a power forward that's like 6'9", 6'10", that's good and can develop. So
yeah, I think the Paul Reed Bona thing, like they're really power forwards. They come in to play backup center. That does scare me. I feel like Paul Reed's, even though he was the man, he was too small a lot of the time. Bona's not big enough a lot of the time. I do like having like Drummond at least be big, but it doesn't matter. In the playoffs, he wasn't playing like it. So
exactly, and he can barely hold on the ball for crying out loud. When he tries to make a down the court pass, oh my god, it looks like he's trying to play football, throwing it like 50 yards down the field.
Yeah, so. he is prone to some goofiness. That's why I like him, but that's probably not a great thing if you're trying to win a championship.
Absolutely. So, but before we wrap things up, is there anything, final message you have or anything that you're really honed in on that the Sixers should do this offseason?
Get Jared McCain back. No, I'm just kidding. No, other than the bench, it's tough to say. Or find some value for Embiid, but I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
If they could find like a 2 firsts, I might do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they got to just pick a direction, even though I'm having a tough time picking a direction.
Absolutely.
They probably have to.
Yeah.
I hope they just do smart stuff. As long as they think things through, like the new GM, that's what's most important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have one thing and one thing only. If you're going to trade Embiid and Paul George, the 2028 Clippers pick is untouchable. If they're asking for that, you hang up the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
That pick is too valuable. And exactly, they just got the 5th pick. Kawhi is probably going to be done at that point. Like obviously, he had a strong season, played healthy, but then they obviously have Mathurin and Garland and stuff like that. But at the same time, at that point, the Clippers are going to be in a whole different direction. And if that pick is good, and the Sixers could benefit off of that, and maybe be that guy where Edgecombe and Maxey are certified bucket get. Maxey already is, but Edgecombe gets to
that point.
Because I saw this. I think Edgecombe has the ability to be a better player than Maxey is at his highest point. I think
it's possible. I mean, he's probably it's tough. We'll definitely see.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah,
it's easy to it's possible, but I would say it's unlikely just because Maxey's been so good, at least in the regular season the last couple of years. And he's so fast, but Edgecombe's athletic, fast, all that too. So yeah, it could be dangerous for sure.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens though. It's going to be very interesting. But this is all we have for you guys today. I appreciate Sean coming on and giving a recap of the Sixers season as a whole. But I'll talk to you guys later. I'll probably have this similar episode for the Flyers this week or next week. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Heck yeah. See you, fellas.